Hello? Your Health is Calling, where holistic health meets practical solutions for your well being. With your host, speaker, New York Times bestselling author, Sue Kostyk, a seasoned holistic health practitioner and longevity coach. Join Sue each week to embark on a journey to uncover the root causes of your health concerns. Through a personalized approach, learn how to decode the messages your body is sending and craft natural protocols to address them. Call in live. Call in live at 888-994-4995 Studio A.
Good morning. Welcome to Hello, Your Health is Calling. I'm Sue Kostyk. I'm an integrative health practitioner. What does that mean? We dig deep. I am all about finding out the root cause of what's going on, and we find solutions that are holistic, non-pharmaceutical, that actually will figure out what your symptoms are, why they're happening, and get rid of them, not just putting a band-aid on a symptom and sending you on your way. So this month of September, I decided to name it Longevity Month. It's my birthday month. So we're talking about anti-aging. We're talking about why we age. And today I have a guest, and before I bring him on, I'm going to just kind of recap the last couple of weeks of this series. And the first week we talked about why we age, and we talked about hormone decline, we talked about inflammation and how chronic inflammation damages our mitochondria, which is the energy that our cell needs. We talked about toxin accumulation, stress, how stress is just such an aggravation to our aging process. And then last week, we talked about the main causes of death and as we age and what is happening and causing those things. So, you know, heart disease, cancer, stroke, high blood pressure, kind of in the same category, type 2 diabetes, and Alzheimer's. And we talked about focusing on heart disease, high blood pressure, and diabetes so that your body can stay in a healthy state to combat cancers and the Alzheimer's and dementias, the brain diseases that come with aging. So that was the last couple of weeks. This week, we are going to talk about keeping ourselves healthy so that if there is something that happens, whether it's an accident, whether it's a disease that comes about, a diagnosis, that why is it important to keep ourselves healthy and keep our bodies in that state of balance so that you can get through those accidents, those diseases that just happen to come upon you. So, my guest is Dr. Ricky Brown, and he is a board certified plastic surgeon. He is very prominent on social media and quite a following on TikTok, on Instagram. And he's coming on as my guest because he had a devastating injury happen about 6 weeks ago. And I started noticing this. He also personally has helped my family. I had a skin cancer removed. He was just brilliant in repairing that. It's on my lip. You probably can't see it. And also with some reconstruction for my daughter who had to go through some health issues. So I've known him for a while. It's been about 10 years I've been following him, and started following him through this journey and thought that it would be just a great opportunity and inspiration for you as far as keeping yourself healthy so that you can combat these issues. So let's bring on Dr. Ricky Brown. Welcome
Hey
to the
Sue, how are
show.
you?
I'm
Thanks.
great. How are you? I'm so happy that you were on here. It just fits so perfectly to
Oh
this
yeah,
whole thing. So let's just dive in because I want to make sure we stay on time, and let's just dive into your accident and what happened.
yeah. So very briefly, we have a new flat top grill outside, and it's in a built-in island. And I went outside to light the grill, and with a flat top grill, it's really hard. You can't tell if it's lit because there's such a narrow gap between the surface and the burner. And it sounded like it lit, and I walked away to let it preheat. Walked back over, and my wife was like, God, it smells funny. She came outside, and I was like, yeah, it smells like gas. It didn't light. So I turned it off, thinking that everything would just sort of dissipate from underneath the burner, underneath the surface of the grill there. So for a good 5 minutes, I walked away. And when I walked back over to the grill, the tank is stored underneath the island, and there's two doors where that is. When I went to spark the grill, it blew up into my legs, and I suffered almost 10% burns to both of my legs. One of them was almost circumferential. And so that's what happened. It was pretty crazy. Yeah, you can see the pictures here. This was the day after it happened, when I went down to Maricopa to the burn center, and they debrided all the skin off and the blisters. So this is pretty raw and pretty uncomfortable. So it was a pretty crazy accident. There was no defect in the grill. It was just literally the gas was siphoning down into the island. And I never, ever would have thought about opening the doors to let the gas out. And come to find that these islands are supposed to be built with vents in them. So mine have no vents in it. So that's what happened. And it's amazing that it was just 6 weeks ago.
Yeah. And the reason what really sparked the interest of having you on my show was the fact that it was only 6 weeks ago. You said that the doctors were amazed and there was no skin grafting that had to take place. The comment that rang so true to me was that you made a comment that you said, if I had any kind of comorbidity, type 2 diabetes, inflammatory disease, my journey would have been different.
Yep.
And I followed you for a while, and I know that your journey has also been kind of a health journey. And
Yeah.
you did get healthy, and medical school is crazy. You're under stress, it's long hours, your diet sucks. So I want you to talk a little bit about your personal health journey as well, and maybe inspire some of our listeners that are teetering on the precipice. So,
Absolutely. So I got out of plastic surgery training in 2009, and I was 200 pounds pretty much, and I'm about 5'7". So for me, it was pretty big guy at that time. I had twins on the way. My wife was pregnant, and I'd always been a pretty healthy person. In fact, I ran the Chicago Marathon 5 times during my general surgery training before I
oh,
went to plastic surgery. So I stayed in shape, but I ran those pretty heavy. I ran those at about 180, and I was not muscular at that time. I was a little bit on the heavy side. So when I got out, I realized I need to make a change. I want more for myself. I don't feel good in my body. I have 2 children on the way. I want to be able to play with them and be active. And so at that time, my wife and I went to Italy right after I got out of training. We lived it up for a couple of weeks, and I got back and I hit the ground running. I started running. I started trying to eat well. And interestingly, I did not do it the right way in the beginning. I was doing Medifast and all these other things just to try to lose as much as I could. And actually, Weight Watchers ended up being what was the best for me, because it's basically calorie counting, right? So I was learning how to calorie count. So I ended up losing about 30 pounds in that journey, was a super lean, skinny guy, and was like, man, this still just didn't feel right to me. Cause I've talked in the past on social media about how here's a version of me really heavy and overweight, and here's a version of me really skinny with very little muscle mass. And neither one of those were really very healthy scenarios. So I found CrossFit around that time. It was about 2013. So this is a couple years after I started to embark on that journey, and just started doing CrossFit very safely. There's a lot of negativity around CrossFit, but there's nothing wrong with it as long as you're safe and you don't, act outside of what you should or shouldn't be doing in the gym. It's very safe. And I packed on a lot of healthy muscle, and that's been my journey literally since 2013. I've been doing CrossFit for 11 years now. I hike, I do jujitsu now. And so my health journey sort of moved through not doing weight loss the right way to learning a lot about nutrition and wellness, doing it the right way, building muscle, having a good meal plan, and just in general feeling amazing in my body. And what the listeners don't know is I also had to have a total hip replacement about 18 months ago. It was a
mhm.
congenital thing. So we could talk about how my health sort of helped me recover from that too. So that's sort of been my health and wellness journey.
Yeah, and that's amazing. And I think that in the world that you are in plastic surgery and the society that we live in now, it's really about the quick fixes, everybody, we're in a microwave mentality, we have been for a long time as a society. And people just, they want it now. They want to, we've built this image that everybody needs to look like, and what really matters is how healthy you are and on the inside. And that's, in my practice, we do functional lab testing so that we can really dig deep into what is actually happening, especially for people who can't lose weight. And then, I've seen, I've been following you for years, and I've seen the before and afters, and I've also seen the post that you do about sending people to a nutritionist before they embark on a surgery, or some kind of a transformational journey. And that's so important. And I really want the listeners and viewers to understand that you know it really matters how healthy you are on the inside. And if you're going to age gracefully, if you are going to be active in your 60s, 70s, 80s, then it really matters what you're doing now. And when you're in your 20s and 30s, Alzheimer's is shown, they say that Alzheimer's starts in your 30s. So, but no, I love your journey. And, you know, I want to also talk a little bit about your healing process, because that's really
Mhm.
important too. And was there anything that you did during your healing process that was a little bit different?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. So I know too much. I've done burn care. I've taken care of burn patients. I worked in the burn unit during general surgery and in plastic surgery. And so I knew too much. I knew it was coming my way. And my biggest fear were skin grafts, not because I couldn't recover and be okay with skin grafts, but having to have a skin graft, just it's a big setback when you're trying to heal, because you have to make new wounds to take the skin. You've got to debride the area that needs the graft and put it down. And so everything looked second degree to me. But what can occur over the first couple of days of a burn is those burns can get deeper and convert to a more of a third degree burn, or whatever level you're at, they can get worse. And since the outside right of my leg took the biggest hit, we were worried that we were going to have to do some grafts. And so I was like in this mindset, this is not happening. I am not getting grafts. I am a healthy guy. Like, I am going to make this happen. So probably about I got admitted for a couple of days, about 3 or 4 days out, because they wanted to see if that area was bleeding well. They took me to surgery to do that, and everything looked kind of, she called it a C- bleeding in that area. And but she was like, but everything, everything looks okay. There's some bleeding, so let's just do wound care. And they put some special amniotic grafts on my leg. So at that time, I said, okay, we have good bleeding. What can I throw at this to do everything that I can to try to mitigate having to have grafts? So I happen to know a place in town that has hyperbaric. So I started hyperbaric. I did hyperbaric for 10 days in a row. I also, because I'm in the industry that I'm in, know about exosomes and stem cells. For those of you who don't know what exosomes are, instead of the stem cells release little vesicles with growth hormones, and exosomes are basically a conglomeration of all of those little vesicles. And so there's really no rejection of that. And we use it all the time with microneedling in the face. And so it's regenerative, right? So I ordered exosomes from a company that I know has a good quality product, and I put exosomes on my burns every day. You were not supposed to do peptides, but I got a hold of peptides. I did, TB 500 and SBC 157, SBC 157. I used those for a little while, and then I had IV vitamin drips. So, some people would say, oh, you're privileged, you have access to all that stuff. Yeah, I mean, I know about it. So I tried all of those things, but those would be things I would offer to my burn patients too, if I had the opportunity to do that. So I threw everything but the kitchen sink at it. And literally my wife was doing my dressing changes. She was like, within 2 days of you doing hyperbaric, I could see a clear difference in the change of your burns. Like the skin was starting to regrow back. The areas that we were worried about were looking better. And lo and behold, within, I think, about 2 weeks of my burns, I went back to the burn clinic and my burn doc was like, you are completely healed. You don't need any
That's
grafts. And I was like, that's right. I was like, I was healed 3 days ago. I'm coming to you
yeah.
3 days ago. Like I literally was fully healed within about a good, I would say a good 2 weeks or just over 2 weeks. And I kept doing the dressing changes they asked me to do. But I was like, babe, my wife, I'm like, these are healed. The skin has grown back. We don't even need these dressings anymore. So that was my journey. And I mean, there's a little bit of luck involved in that process, but then there was also the mindset, which we could talk about my mindset shift because I
Yeah.
was not in a good place around day 7. And I think when my mind shifted was right
Yeah.
around the time I found out that maybe I wouldn't need grafts. And that had a lot to do with it too.
Yeah, mindset, and I'm glad you brought that up because mindset is so key in anything that you're doing in your life. And in my practice, I put my clients through what I call the de-stress protocol, and it's just an acronym for diet, exercise, toxin removal, rest, emotions, stress
Love
management,
it.
and supplementation and success mindset is always that it's the last one, but it's really should be the first one because if
Mm-hmm.
your mind doesn't believe it, it won't happen. And the doctor that I certify under, he stresses so much, and you hear stories that people who are terminally ill, and yet in their mind they'd say, no, I am not terminally ill, I am going to make it through this, and they do. And as we age, one of the biggest factors to our health is stress and mental and emotional stress. And I watched my mother, who was the most healthiest person on the planet, but she had an extremely stressful life. And it wasn't managed. Back in the day, you just kind of kept your mouth shut and moved on.
Yeah.
And she developed Alzheimer's, and we lost her way too young. But
Mm.
stress and mindset, that is the number one thing. And I know that you have done is it hard 75? Is that what it's called?
75 hard. Yeah.
75 hard. And to me, I think that's the ultimate mind over matter thing, that if you can put your mind to something for that long and create those new habits. And when you were getting healthy during your journey, I'm sure a lot of it was mind over matter. And that
Oh yeah.
probably also, contributed to when you got to that day 7 and you were like, oh man, this is going to be tough. Your mind had to kick in. And I love that about it. And I'm sure that there's people in your practice that come across, and you got to talk them up on their mindset too.
Big time. I do it a lot. Actually, I was on day 48 of 75 hard when I had the grill injury. And I woke up the next day and I woke my wife up. I'm like, babe, we're going to keep going. I'm fine. I'm like, my legs are wrapped. I'll go outside. I'll do sit ups. You go do your walk. Like, we're going to keep doing this. And like, a lot of the swelling hadn't set in yet. And she was like, slow down, buddy, slow your roll, man. And literally that day after I got burned, I went outside and did a workout. And then, I was delusional. I just didn't, I knew what was coming, but I wasn't accepting it. But 75 hard, you're right. That program, a lot of people kind of put that program down that Andy Frisella created, but it is a mind over matter type of a thing. And it's one of those things where, yeah, it's hard. That's why it's called 75 hard. And it's not a fitness program. It is a program for mental fortitude and mental strength. And, you mentioned at the top of the show about building resilience. I tell my patients all the time, and I've kind of made this shift on social media to say that I really want people to stop focusing on weight loss as the goal of eating better and moving your body. That should not be
Yeah.
your goal. Your goal should be to get your body to a place where it can sustain stress, number one. So you do hard things, you do hard workouts, you do things that you never thought that you would be able to do, and you eat well. And the side result and the end result of all that is you're going to get the physique that you want. But that shouldn't be people's focus. People's focus should be being healthy, because had I not been in the shape that I was in, there is no way that I would have recovered the way that I had. I had so much muscle mass packed on when I was in the moment of requiring 2 grams per kilo of protein, because that's what burns require, if not more, because you're leaching
Mhm.
protein. I had no appetite and I couldn't eat. And I literally was trying to drink those 30, gram shakes per day. My body metabolized my muscle. I watched myself start to wither away. My body metabolized my muscle to heal the burns. And so that was my
Right.
resilience. I had like a certain amount packed away to use to heal my body. And had I not been that way, my journey of healing would have been very different.
Yeah, and that's why I have you on my show. But it's, and it's just going back to the mentality, the weight loss mentality. I have people come in my practice all the time. It's like, I can't lose weight. I can't lose weight. And literally, we're doing lab testing and we're finding out why. It's not because you're not eating well, it's because your body is in some kind of dysbiosis, your gut is messed
Mhm.
up, and it's a process. And sometimes it takes people 3 to 6 months to heal their gut, to get their hormones in balance, and they're constantly saying, when am I going to lose the weight? When am I going to lose the weight? And there's an adage that a healthy body cannot be fat. It's impossible. And so it's like, get yourself healthy, and the byproduct of that will be that you will lose weight. I have a client that has huge yeast overgrowth, and we're removing it, and about 2 months into it, she called me and she said, I just lost 10 pounds, because her body's finally in that stage where it can be healthy and we're rebalancing. And I stress so much, and I am so grateful for doctors like you that also stress the fact of being healthy.
Mhm.
Because yes, you can go do the injections, and you can do all the things and lose the weight, but what's happening, like when you're going through a healing, your body needs that muscle to heal. But what's happening with all of these injections and things, people aren't eating enough protein, so they're starting to lose muscle mass.
Yeah.
It's just a mess.
I
So,
have a term that I use for what you talked about earlier about people wanting it so fast. I call it Amazon Prime syndrome. Everyone's got Amazon
oh,
Prime syndrome. Like, they want the
totally.
weight loss yesterday, and if they don't lose 10 pounds within 2 weeks, then the meal plan was a failure and the program was a failure. And like, I want
Mhm,
your listeners to hear this from me. I'm the most different plastic surgeon that you'll ever meet in your life.
mhm,
I don't think there's many like me that I actually turn people away, and I talk about nutrition, and we have a program in my practice where we refer people to nutritionists like you mentioned, and we have
mhm,
mental health specialists to help them if they have a food addiction or a food problem or whatever it is.
mhm,
It's really important that people realize you can stumble into gaining weight, but you're not going to stumble out. It is going to take
mhm,
years to get where you want. And it's my journey has been well over 10 years. And I finally, like maybe in the past couple years, I'm in a place where I don't even have to think about it anymore. I'm living in the body I want to live in. I physically look how I want to look. I feel the way that I want to feel, but it's constant daily work, and you're not going to just get it overnight.
Yeah, you're 100% right. It's the Amazon Prime syndrome. It's the microwave mentality. Everybody wants
Yeah.
it now. And, you can do these, fad things, and sure, it will work for a little while, but then you get stuck again, and you're just on that hamster wheel of, disappointment, really. And then people give up, and they're like, well, there's no hope for me, and this is how I have to be, and my genetics say this, and so it's just so refreshing, and I'm so grateful. And you also wrote a book,
I did. It's
and
called The Real Beauty Bible. Where is my
yes.
book? Here it is. I'm going to step away for you. I should have brought this. Yeah, it's called The Real Beauty Bible. So
Mhm.
it's a good book if you guys want to check it out. I wrote this book basically to help people through their journey of having plastic surgery, right? Not everyone knows what to expect going into surgery. So it's just takes people through the before stuff, what to be thinking about, from financing to mental health to the actual procedures and which ones would be right for you. And then I walk people through the process of having surgery and what it's like to heal and kind of living in their new body. So yeah, this came out, gosh, I don't even know, several years ago. I don't promote it enough.
You don't. You don't. You need to be more self-promoting in that area. I think, I have a couple books too, and I don't promote them. So, but, we are winding down on our time, and I'm so sad. I may have to have you back.
Yeah, I
But
would love to.
I appreciate it so much and love the work that you do. And, again, if anybody has any questions, you can send them to support@helloyourhealthiscalling.com. You can find Dr. Brown on Instagram at Dr. Richard J. Brown. He's really a good one to follow. You will learn a lot. And learning is everything. You don't know what you don't know. And so, I just kind of want to wrap this up again. I say this a lot, but your health is not a hobby. Healthy people invest wisely. They invest in the training, nutrition, recovery, and it's really the smartest investment that you can make of your time, your money, your energy. Because if you don't have your health, you don't have anything. And I love the name of this show, Hello, Your Health is Calling. If your health is calling, if you've got a symptom, please pay attention and answer it. Don't be like, how your check engine light turns on and you just kind of ignore it and drive around hoping and praying that all's good. So remember, pay attention. Thank you so much again, Dr. Brown. Appreciate it. And
My
we will
pleasure.
see you next week when we wrap up our longevity session. So thanks everyone for watching.
Thank you for tuning in to another empowering episode of Hello, Your Health is Calling with Sue Kostyk. Remember, your health journey is ongoing, and we're here to support you every step of the way. If you have any questions, insights, or stories to share, don't hesitate to reach out. You can connect with us on social media or call in live at 888-994-4995 Studio A. Together, we're transforming lives and embracing holistic well-being. Until next time, prioritize your health and remember, your health is calling.